but I don't believe he's brought us this far to leave us now. I'm glad, I'm grateful, I'm humbled, and I'm honored to salute and to celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on this, the 34th anniversary birthday celebration. To our esteemed and capable mayor, to the president of SMU, to all of our elected officials, our pastors, our honorees, to Lottie Dottie and everybody, thank you so much for having me on tonight. If you will, after everything that you've been through just in 2016, would you give it a rousing applause for every person who's at your table? Come on, you can do better than that. It is interesting to note that thousands of people from all over the world come to Dallas, Texas annually just so that they can, in fact, lend their eyes to the grassy knoll. They pause and get out of cars and take pictures because they want to see what it looked like from that hill, to see one of America's greatest heroes assassinated. Some many miles away from Dallas, Texas, in the heartbeat of Jerusalem, another leader was killed on a hill. I'm not talking about John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and I refer to Jesus Christ. And while he hung limplessly on an ignominious cross, he uttered words that finds itself in relevance even tonight. When he cried out while the soldiers were wrenching their hands, "I thirst." It was in fact a transition of divinity to humanity, that God was in fact expressing himself through man, realizing that I feel your pain and I know your anguish. I thirst. Those two words began to echo through the chambers of history. And we found it begin to erupt and bubble over in Selma and Montgomery, when a generation of African Americans made up in their minds that we feel the cross of segregation, and we feel the burden of what it feels like to live in an unjust society. And because they had that kind of thirst, there was in fact a original super bad solidarity sister named Rosa Parks, who sang the original gangster rap music. "Before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go on to my Lord and be free." She thirsted not necessarily for a seat in the bus, but really a seat at the table. There was a generation that was in fact thirsty for righteousness' sake because they believed that the Constitution was in fact true and they never tasted it. That the preamble of our Constitution said we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, all women are created equal and have the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And all over this nation, black people were saying, I wonder what that tastes like. I wonder what it feels like to be able to go in a department store and actually try on the clothes. I thirst. I wonder what it's like to be able to work at a restaurant but not be able to eat from the table. I thirst. I wonder what it's like to be able to excel in all academic proficiency but still not gain access into Ole Miss. I thirst. They were not in fact thirsty for red-bottom shoes and Louis Vuitton bags. They weren't thirsty for trips to the Essence Festival and to go to Jamaica. They thirsted for righteousness and justice right here at home. And isn't it amazing, not on the grassy knoll here in Dallas, not even on that hill in Jerusalem, but on a second-floor balcony in Memphis, Tennessee. The Lorraine Motel while Dr. King was waiting to go to dinner, because there was something in his soul that was still thirsty. An assassin with a 6-cent bullet took aim because he was afraid that Dr. King's thirst would become contagious, that other people would have what Barack Obama calls the audacity of hope. And even after a 6-cent bullet took out a national treasure, you'll notice that even after that, council ladies and gentlemen, there was no talk on gun reform. Even after they assassinated him, and even after it took some time for delayed justice, still nothing about open carried weapons. He thirsted, and when he thirsted, please don't let America shrink wrap Martin Luther King to a dream. There was a whole lot more to him than just one speech in Washington, D.C. When he died in the middle of planning the Poor People's Campaign, realizing that the next successive step after civil rights is silver rights. What is the point of us integrating a lunch counter if we can't buy a hamburger at the counter? He said that there wasn't something eerily wrong when it is that garbage collectors can't even get the same pay for carrying the same trash and smelling like the same stench. I thirst. And we thought from 1968 to 2016, by now we've got to the water fountain. And many of you have somehow or another, like many who have tried to traverse through a desert, have in fact been blindsided by a mirage. You've been thirsty so long, you don't even realize you're dehydrated. You think because we're now sitting in the Hyatt, you're not thirsty anymore. You think because we got black elected officials, we're not thirsty anymore. You think now that Negroes are playing golf and Negroes are going to brunch on Sunday rather than going to church, we're not thirsty anymore. There's an emerging generation of young people all over this country, from Ferguson, Missouri, to Sanford, Florida, to Chicago, Illinois, who are crying out with foam around their mouths, Black Lives Matter, simply as a translation from the cross, I thirst. And many of you who think that it is a figment of your own imagination, can you please teleport yourself out of Dallas, Texas, and find your way to Flint, Michigan? And when you find your way to Flint, Michigan, the story unravels in January of 2014, when, in fact, the city council made the executive decision, let's switch the water to Detroit. Not because it's better, not because it's cleaner, not because it's healthier, but because it's cheaper. And because this small community of 250,000 people are predominantly black and low income, nobody will mind if it's cheap. Let them be thirsty. You think I'm just talking about Flint. I wonder how it is that we look at the public school systems in urban centers, when the only technology is a metal detector with no computers. You have children who are saying, I'm thirsty. When you go to major metropolitan cities and garbage collectors are making more than school teachers, and they have to decorate their classroom out of their own pocket, I thirst. I wonder why it is that there is a great salivating of thirst in our communities when you can get a loan to get a used car, but you can't get a loan to start a business. I thirst. When black Americans are the lead amount of renters in this nation, when we still haven't gotten 40 acres and a mule, but instead they gave us Section 8 housing and a bus pass, I thirst. There's got to be something beyond what was the cost, because black Americans have already paid the price. We ought to have the best water of anybody. Fiji ought to be pumped into every black home in America. After it is that we toiled and worked from sun up to sundown, raising other people's children and really being able to take care of our own, we paid the price. When we watched our men, in the words of Nina Simone, hang from sycamore trees like strained fruit, we paid the price. When even grown men were called boy and called young man. I'm sorry, y'all thought I was talking about the antebellum. I'm talking about the President of the United States of America. Isn't that strange that even in this hour we have found ourselves in a dilapidated state because we don't realize that Langston Hughes' words are still relevant on the day. On the corner of Lenox Avenue, he wrote from a one-bedroom apartment, I too sing America. They ask me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, and I just laugh and eat well and grow strong. For tomorrow they'll see how beautiful I am, because I too am America. There's got to be a thirst in you, and you just keep waking up an 80-something old dead man saying, what would Dr. King do? What would Dr. King say? Where would Dr. King lead us? We believe in rest in peace for everybody but a black man. Because even from the grave, we won't let you sleep. Even from the grave, we're looking for you for leadership, direction, and instruction, as if the living have no revelation. As if the living can give no counsel. As if the living can't speak truth to power. And maybe we've got to wake up Dr. King, because so many of us are in a coma of consciousness, that we have deluded ourselves into an arrival that we have not yet met. Anytime that when Dr. King assembled clergy to inform the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and look at where we are now, 100 Negro preachers meeting with Donald Trump. We're doing the electric slide backwards and dancing to the beat because we don't know how thirsty we are. When they did an analysis on the water, they realized that the lead potency was so high that if in fact somebody was in the term of 6 months pregnant, it would force a miscarriage. Isn't it amazing? Our babies are being killed even before they arrive. Isn't it amazing that there's always death on newborns because of the fear of potential? You remember when it is that Moses was first birthed, that there was an edict that wasn't released. Kill all the firstborn. Why? Because we don't know which one of them will be the dreamer. So if we kill them off early, we won't have to worry about them having revolutionary instincts later. So let's kill them off early. We pro-life, but we're anti-Head Start. Kill them off early. Kill them off early. We won't find funding for gifted and talented programs, but we'll label them all with ADHD, even though they know all the words of Nicki Minaj and Drake. They don't have any learning disability, but because we want to kill them off early. Kill them off early when juveniles are being charged like adults. But right here in Texas, you can be charged with affluenza and flee the country with a passport. But a Negro cross the street, they go to jail till Tuesday. There's got to be something that wakes us up from our dehydration. Dehydration not only kills babies before they get here, but it retards the mental process where you can't even think right. What is wrong with us that we are no longer critical thinkers? We're not critical thinkers because we got gold teeth but nickel-plated brains. What is wrong with us that we'll buy our children $200 high-top tennis shoes when they got low ambition? What is wrong with our critical thinking when they know all the latest dances but still can't pass their classes? What is wrong with our critical thinking when you got a 25-inch flat screen television but you ain't got a computer nowhere in the house? What is wrong with us when you look just like Ebony Fashion Fair but your children look like 5 miles of bad road? Our thinking is off. Thinking is off because we've been so dehydrated from dirty water that we don't now know the difference between dirty water and spring water. It is amazing that even if you bathe in this water in Flint, Michigan, it will make you break out in hives and rashes will begin to develop. Something has happened where we now in this hour still think something is wrong with our skin. Still don't think that we measure up. Barack Obama is one of the greatest presidents America has ever had, saving an economy that was floundering and going sideways, and captured terrorists, and was able to raise employment, and still we can't find anybody to replace them. Look straight ahead, don't look at your neighbor. There's a critical hour. In this hour when we become dehydrated, you become delusional, dizzy, and can't keep your balance. You can't keep your balance. I'm talking about your checking account. When the average African American only has $6,000 to your name, And so your purse costs more than what you can put in it. We have no balance when it is that we bought all of these houses under predatory lending. And we said we were blessed and highly favored, but when we got evicted, the church couldn't save us because the pastor was trying to buy a private jet. Something is wrong with our balance. Something is wrong with our balance when we applaud what the work of HBCUs have done. But of the 118 HBCUs, 74 of them are in danger of closing because they do not get support until you show up with a sweatshirt on homecoming weekend, but you don't give one dime. Our balance is off. Balance is off. You turn on the hydrant. And when you turn on the hydrant in Flint, Michigan, you'll notice that it's not even clear. It's brown. The water is so dirty that 2 years ago, General Motors said they won't even use the water in Flint because it was rusting out car equipment. The water was so contaminated, ladies and gentlemen, that it began to mess up pipes, that the pipes couldn't handle it. Nonprofit agencies that do free pumps in Africa and in Haiti brought their equipment to Flint, Michigan and said it's too heavy here than it is in Haiti. And we're talking about water in America. Water, ladies and gentlemen, if there are any physiologists in the room, they'll tell you that water gives absolutely no nutrients, holds no calories, but it's needed for your body. It's amazing. You can't see anything in it. It's translucent. You can see right through it, but you need it. 79% of the earth's mass is made out of water, and you can't find any. In the wealthiest, most powerful nation in the world, for black people, it's unavailable. It's dirty. It's contaminated. It's unhealthy. Ladies and gentlemen, I might suggest to you that the dirty water in Flint, Michigan is just a symbol of justice in America. It ought to be available to everybody, but it's dirty, and it makes me sick. That you can't find justice for Trayvon Martin, and George Zimmerman is now selling finger paints on eBay. The water is dirty. Michael Brown is killed in the middle of the street and left there for 3.5 hours. And still, Dan Wilson walks free. The water is dirty. We watched Eric Gardner get killed on video, and not one officer spends the night in jail. The water is dirty. Sandra Bland comes here to Texas looking for a job and ends up dead for a traffic violation. The water is dirty. Right from the city I'm from, Baltimore, Maryland, Freddie Gray is riding on the bike, and next thing he knows, 80% of his spine is severed. The water is dirty. Might I suggest to you, while you're driving home tonight, stop at every yellow light. While you're driving home tonight, just don't put the blinkers on. Put your hand out in motion, you pulling over. The water is dirty. Might I advise you, if you in real trouble, don't you dare get prepaid legal. You better get somebody who will stand for you and not make a deal you don't know about. And isn't it interesting, long before Jesus found himself on that cross, just a few days before that, he finds himself in a hamlet of a town called Gethsemane. And he begins to pray out, Father, if it be your will, let this cup pass from my mouth. I don't know what was in the cup. It might have been Merlot. It might have been Deer Park. Those of you from the hood, it could have been Cavassier. But he said, whatever is in this cup that's killing my people, that's killing this generation, that's killing our consciousness and our ability for critical thinking, let it pass from my mouth. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. I hope you enjoyed your salad tonight. I hope you enjoyed your chicken. I hope you enjoyed the cheesecake. But in case you didn't notice, right at your table for free is a cup of clear water. And if there's justice in it, I'll drink to that.